Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution.
Each week we interview top artists
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Code, BossLogic, welcome to Origin Stories.
Appreciate you, man. Good to be here.
This is fun. This is going to be a fun one. I have a good feeling about this.
Hopefully I can answer every question without hesitation or needing an NDA.
We'll get the proper documentation over to you. So here's the deal. We always have to start with this. The most important question. What is your origin story?
My origin story. So I know like this. Do I just say how I started, or
you can? So the rules are none. You can go back as far as you want. Whatever means something to you. Where did this journey start?
Okay, before like there was a dark side, but that's got nothing to do with that. But yeah, so my origin story is within this world that I'm in now. Starts at 2007. I just got into digital art from my friend. I used to draw all the time, like during school, on all my textbooks and everything. So I kind of sucked at school. So it was just art for me. I even sucked at art class, failed that. So yeah, I just kept drawing and stuff. And my friend got me Photoshop. I forgot what it was back then. I think it was CS6 or 7. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, he got me it and I started dabbling with it and I fell in love with it. And I wasn't good back then. I kept trying to be good at it. Like I showed you one of the pictures. Yeah. The origin, the first picture. It's like
yes. The mixtape.
So bad. But yeah, I started dabbling with it and got a little popularity on MySpace. I got to do banners and got to do like the background graphics, the sparkly background graphics for people on MySpace, you know, the old school stuff. But yeah, it started to be fun, and I got a taste of my first celebrity coming to want something from me. And it was back then, it was Rick Ross. Like it's like, oh my God, Rick Ross is wants me to make an animated avatar. You know, when MySpace had the animated avatars.
Yeah. So he came to, so that was through MySpace. Rick Ross got to you.
Through MySpace, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this is like awesome. And after I did it and I gave it to him, it's like, he goes, I'll give you $50. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, Rick Ross, you know, big time rapper back then, giving me $50. Okay, I'll take it. But, you know, it went into the back of my head. And fast forward a bit, I kept dabbling with art, doing nightclub flyers and all that sort of stuff. And I kept wanting to do more. So I started doing original pieces because that's a way to express yourself. And I started doing that, but it didn't make noise. No one would look at my art, and that's the trap with some artists. It's like if you don't make noise and no one's seeing your work, you usually quit and stuff. So in about 2011, 2012, I started, you know, making fan art just so people can resonate with what I'm doing and enjoy it. And it started getting picked up by people. It's like, oh my God, you done this for this show. Or, oh my God, you done my favorite character. And you got the endorphins. You get energized with people loving your stuff. So I kept dabbling with fan art, and I kept getting better and better. It got to the point where studios and companies started looking at my work in detail. It's like, oh, this guy's like basically free promotion, doing like high class work for the shows. Let's retweet him. So they started retweeting me, and my stuff started going viral. And it got to the point where, thankfully, Russo brothers saw my work, and they went beyond the retweet. They reached out to me and said, we want to work with you. We love what you do. And I happened to be going to LA that year. And so I was in LA, and they invited me to their studios. We went to their studios, and I started talking to Joe, and he was just like back and forth, giving me props. I'm giving him props. It's like all love in the room. And then he tells me, sorry, we couldn't get you on Infinity War. There was no time and all that. I'm like, nah, it's all right, man. It's like, but we want you on Endgame. I'm like, fuck yeah. It's like, it's like, finally, this is the point I get to create something that I grew up with, Marvel, officially. And it's like, yeah, he booked me in a call with Disney. We went to the Disney head office. I sat in a room with all Disney execs, and there wasn't even a negotiation. It's like, hey man, we want to do BossLogic X Disney. It's like, I've never seen Disney do an X, like a collaboration with my title in the name.
Yeah.
But that's what they wanted to do, and I got to do Endgame. Like, and it was like, that was the eye-opening moment. So that's when you know you've made it, you're respected, and your work is worth it. Like, even though people have been telling me for years, you need that clarification. That and after that, it's like so much noise came in. Like, I released the Endgame posters.
Wait, hold that thought real quick. Okay. See, we got to the made it moment, but before we go all in on the made it moment, I want to walk back and I want to ask you two questions. First question, way back, 0809, or actually even before 0809, when you were drawing, right? You referenced that you were drawing all the time, even when you didn't consider yourself all that good at drawing. I want to know what you were drawing. What were you obsessed with at the time?
I was obsessed with a whole bunch of things, animes, but mostly wrestling. I remember, like, in my head, I can remember wrestling. I used to draw Sting a lot.
Nice.
That was a big thing. But mostly, I used to draw random things, like try to create my own characters that were like really deformed and stuff. So that's basically, it's just like, and also, do you know when you draw in a textbook and there's like these pictures in the textbook, and you just draw over them, and then you draw around the text just to make it fit?
Yeah.
That's all I was doing in school.
Yeah. So even at that time, you were doing your original, like, deformed art, and you were doing fan art, right?
Yeah, basically back then.
That's great.
See, the thing is, like it's a cliche now. It's like every artist has like a dark past or something. But that was my only escape. Like, home life wasn't great back then, so I would stick to the paper and pen and just draw all day. I couldn't handle teachers. Like, it was like really hard to concentrate at school. So I kept to the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 2.
Which I kind of regret, though, because there's life skills that you learn at school. So learn at school, guys.
Fair. Question number 2, Marvel, right? I grew up on comic books. Marvel was my first love, ultimately getting into a little bit of DC, some Image, all that stuff. But going back, favorite comic book character as a kid?
As a kid, Spider-Man. Spider-Man was, like, he's not that much now because for some reason I've evolved to liking villains. But Spider-Man was the high point. Okay. And I got to do a official comic book cover of Spider-Man. That was like a milestone as well for me.
Perfect. All right, now walk it back forward. So now you're in the room, you're doing the X collab with Disney, and then you were about to launch into what came next.
So yeah, after we confirmed the collab, and I done the piece, we released them into the world. I didn't know what was going to come next, and it just everything went like next level. Like, I got calls from Warner Brothers, calls from Universal, calls from actual DC covers, and all that stuff came to my door, and I got to pick what I love doing, like what I can do, and that was like the highest point in my life, and it's still going, which I'm thankful for. Yeah.
So take us through that road, which I'm sure is kind of a blur now. Maybe is kind of a blur now with, you know, everything kind of happens and you're getting all these calls. What stands out to you? What are those really meaningful moments to you along that journey? This is pre obviously NFTs, but after the Avengers moment.
What stands out to me the most is like the Russo brothers. It's like they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to retweet my work or anything, but they literally put me in the room and made me what, like, I wouldn't have been at this point in my life without them. Yeah. It's like, sure, hard work gets you places, but sometimes a little luck and a little the right person seeing you gets you to where you are, and I'm extremely thankful for them, like more than they know.
Yeah. You got a DM from The Rock.
Yeah.
It's one of my random favorite people, and just can you tell that story?
Okay. So basically, I did a whole bunch of fan art for Black Adam, like hearing about the news and stuff. So I did pieces of Black Adam, and The Rock has seen it, so he liked it, retweeted it. I'm like, oh damn, this guy, he retweeted my work. It's like he must love it. Then like 10 minutes later, I get a DM from him. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong? It's like, as soon as you get a DM from someone, it's like, it's usually like, hey man, take it down, or hey
right.
man, it's like, I'm not appreciative. He's like, I'm going to connect you with my manager. We want you to work on a piece. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. I'll work on a piece for you guys. So I talked to him and his manager, and it's like, it was the weirdest request. He's like, can you make a Superman beating the shit out of Black Adam? I'm like, aren't you Black Adam? It's like, why do you want your ass kicked? He goes, just do it. It's a long game. I'm like, okay. It's like, so I made a piece of Superman, like looking over him. I don't know if you've seen it. He's looking over Black Adam.
Yep. And
he smashed it to the ground. And yeah, it looks like Superman just killed Black Adam. And we released that. I gave it to them, and it got released like a year later, just as I don't know what they were doing with it. They just released it, and it just went viral. It's like, oh, is Superman coming back? Or is he going to be in Black Adam? Or is he this? I'm like, I have no idea. I just followed what they wanted me to make.
Right.
So we released that into the world, and it's like, ever since then, I've done a few projects with The Rock and his team. Mm-hmm. I'm good friends with $7 Productions, and yeah, it's like, and now we're doing the official stuff for Black Adam, like official. That's like in movie and promotion. We were doing a couple of things. Yeah.
That's amazing. So in that interim, right? So you have this, you get reached out to. Initially, you see it and think, oh, just to take this down. Then it turns into producing a piece. When you hand that over, do you have any knowledge or expectations about when that's going to happen? Or like 6 months in, are you thinking, maybe this is never going to be released, might just be buried?
Sometimes I've made a lot of pieces for a lot of companies and a lot of celebrities that are still not out. And this was like years ago. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they use them for internal fuel, like internal pictures. And sometimes they see the light of day, but sometimes like they fall. But just know that some pieces that I've made have made certain things in Hollywood come true, like some stuff that you haven't seen. They were used as pictures, and now these shows and movies exist because of those pictures. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was that, think back to your first opportunities, you know, really producing art on behalf of these people or the brands that maybe really fired you up, you know, to thinking, oh, this is a brand new opportunity. Was it hard at first handing over a piece of art and not knowing whether it would see the light of day? Like, did you ever have that moment of disappointment 3 months later when you were really proud of a piece and you're thinking, oh man, is this never going to happen?
When you're a young artist and you created like a whole layout of a cool piece and you're not knowing if it's ever going to get released and stuff, mm-hmm. especially if you're not consistent at making stuff that you're proud of, mm-hmm. you're proud of this one thing and it's never going to see the light of day, yeah, you get upset. And I did get upset back then, but that's kind of the thing that fueled me to create stuff every day. Mm-hmm. Like, I literally have a folder of like, maybe like my work folder is around 30,000 files. Mm-hmm. Like stuff I've made over the years. Yeah. Like, and I haven't released all of them, but it's like, that's how I occupy my day. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm the type of person, if I think too much, my voices get loud, like in my head, and I don't like those voices loud. So I create art and listen to music. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did back then when I got a job that might not see the light of day. I listen to music and create other art.
Yeah. So do you remember, you know, was it just a function of experience that over time, you know, when you're transitioning from being a young artist into a more experienced artist, is it just something that step by step you start to get over that stuff and start to realize some of this is going to shine, some maybe gets buried somewhere, some becomes internal fuel, to your point?
You have to learn that, okay, the reason you are upset is because you want people to see it. You want that satisfaction. You have to cross that threshold. That satisfaction, know that what you made was for a greater good. It was to create life out of something, like create a project. You're part of that. That's a huge thing. Your work made something come to life. Doesn't matter who saw it. The right eyes saw it. Executives saw it. Big brands saw it that would never see it. That's what you have to put in your head. It's like, who cares if it shows to the public? One day it will show to the public. Keep growing. 10 years from now, you're like, hey man, do you guys remember your favorite show? This is my key art that I made for it. And it's like, I helped you see it. I helped you get this. That's badass to release it then back when it first came out, when it didn't mean nothing.
Wise words, perspective. That's that long-term perspective. Yeah.
And that's what's happened with a lot of my things. Like that rock thing, it took almost 2 years for them to come out.
How was that? How was that day? How was that day when it did come out? Did they give you any heads up at all? Or
no heads up.
You saw it. You just saw it.
Just saw it, and people thought it was official. People thought it was like, oh my God, Superman's coming back. It's like I had to explain no. That's like, but that was a good day. It's like, that's what you want. You would rather that surprise than you releasing it first and it getting nowhere.
Yeah. Let me take a little detour here. I wanted to make sure to raise a tweet. This is actually a very recent tweet and fresh, but it caught my attention. Sevi loves art.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
I just saw someone retweet the post. It's like the kid has autism, but he's like so happy with art. And it's like, I know a few people with autism here in Australia, and it's like their families are depressed. Their families are like trying to help them out, trying to get them to like things, and the kids are not enjoying life. They're like, it's very sad to see. I hate seeing it. It's like, that's why when I saw that kid enjoying art and he's happy, I see him drawing on traditional paper, they're scanning it and stuff. I'm like, I would love to see him go digital. It's like, if I can help him out go digital, and that's what I want to do. So I reached out to them and like told them, like, give me their wallet so I can give him at least 1 Ethereum so they can get him a Wacom, get him a setup, and let him draw. It's like, and I think his mother runs the account, or his dad. I don't know who runs it. But they showed me a picture of him smiling with holding the Wacom, and it's like, I actually got teary-eyed from that. It's like,
yeah.
Like the people that I give money, I don't expect them to buy the stuff, or maybe just to keep their Ethereum and let it grow. I'm happy with that too. That helps them out in the long run. But the fact that they bought him a Wacom and he's like super happy and he's drawing now, it's like, that's what I want. I want that. I want that feeling for everyone. And I wish every artist that can help someone like that to do it. Like a lot of artists have a spare Ethereum, just to help them out, help out a kid, let them grow within art. Yeah.
That was the cliche that this picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, just beaming smile with that, and just thinking, like you said, you don't know what it's going to be used for, but ends up going to exactly that cause, that purpose. It gets purchased, and then it's in his arms. It's a pretty incredible thing, man.
Yeah, man, I was like so happy, and I was like motivated to help more people, and that's what opens the doors to your mind. Like, how else can you help? Like, I want to help everyone, but you know when you tweet something that you help someone, everyone like starts putting out their hand, and you don't know who's genuine, and you don't know who's what's called. So I kind of look the people that are not asking, but they need it. Yeah, and that's what I did. Like 2 weeks ago, I saw a young artist that her Wacom broke, and she's trying to raise money, so she's selling her commissions cheap. Yeah, like super cheap, so she can raise money. I'm like, I felt sorry for her. She doesn't have NFTs. She doesn't have what's called, and she can't make money. So I DM'd her, and I'm like, I helped her out. It's like I helped her out acquiring a good Wacom, so she doesn't have to sell her art cheap. Because if you sell your art cheap, that's the point. That's how much it costs from now on. Yeah, so you kind of sacrifice what your future goals and future commissions are, so you can get a Wacom. So I helped her out, and she was grateful, and now she gets to draw again.
I love the cycle of inspiration.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to your story, and let's walk it forward. you're going through, you know, a number of those accomplishments that come into play, a number of those big moments that come into play. Get us close to the moment where you even hear about an NFT.
That was from Bill. Like, I didn't know what NFTs were. Like, I heard the word around, but it never clicked to me. But then Bill said he made an Instagram post about saying, I can't believe I haven't been doing this before. All my art sold out in like 2 minutes. I'm like, what the hell does he mean by his art sells out in 2 minutes? What does that makes no sense. Like, did he only do 30 prints? Or like, I had no idea what he's talking about. So I kind of looked at it and it's like, yeah, my life's changed. It's like he has this massive amount of money, like that changed his life. I'm like, how does selling prints do this? I have no idea. Then I saw IV Gallery and I read up on NFT and I clicked on IV Gallery and I wanted to send them a message to see if I can get into it and see what I can do. Because my Instagram has so many followers and stuff, I don't know my DMs. I barely check them. So I clicked on IV Gallery's message and I already had a message from them from 2 months ago saying, are you interested in NFTs and we'd love to bring you in? I'm like, well, this is crap. I missed this message. But yeah, then I reached out to him and we got connected and they curated a drop for me and they wanted to go, which it makes sense to me. They wanted to go the fan art route with my work, which that's what I'm known for. So it's kind of smart. So I got the permission from DC, got the permission from Marvel. I told them about NFT drops. They had no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, okay, if it's digital, if it's an auction, what's cool. So yeah, just go with it. Let's see what happens. So, but after the fact that it happened and they saw the money, it's like, okay, we got to read up on this. So so the future's a bit different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did my first drop with Nifty. It was a fan art drop. It was successful. It was so successful. Like, it wasn't the huge money that everyone's getting now, or the money that everyone's getting now because it's more popular, but it was just enough. Like, I was $1,000 shy of what my parents' house was owing. So I paid off their house. Like, they've done everything for me. There was like 5 years where I wasn't working. I was just doing art. And my mother would help me out with money. My dad would help me out with money, even though they were struggling. So this was something I needed to do. So I paid off their house. Now, for once in their life, my parents don't have debt. They don't have a mortgage. And my parents are in their like 60s, like almost 70s. So to let them have a free life till, to the end, it's like, that's what I needed to do. And I did that.
It's a special moment.
It was like, it's a cliche moment when you run into money and you pay off your parents' house, but it's like, it means more than what I say it means. It's like, I find it, for my parents to be free of everything is like, was a life goal for me. And I finally achieved that.
So take us back to that night. So that night is Friday, January 29th on Nifty. Going into that night, so you see Bill, and shout out Bill, by the way, IV Gallery, all of that. You're wrapping your head around it. You're saying, what's this? You look more into it and you link up with Nifty, get prepared to do this art drop. What are you thinking heading into that night? Or technically 2 nights because the auction happens the day after, but heading into that first night, what are you thinking? Are you framing expectations around what you saw with Bill and IV Gallery, or how are you thinking about it?
I wasn't thinking like that at all. So I was worried I was going in with fan art. So usually no Nifty person did fan art before that. So I was the first one. So I was like, maybe the audience doesn't like fan art. Maybe I'm not going to make anything. It's like, maybe it's like, oh, everyone's going to say, oh, this is copyright. So, it's going to get bad rap. Even though it wasn't copyright, there was permission given. But I was going in there thinking I would probably get like 100K, 200K. Hopefully that was what I was wishing. But then the day came, and when you see your counter go from people buying 100 pieces, 200 pieces, 300 pieces, it's like your mind gets blown. And then the sale finished, and I'm like, damn. And and the money was instant as well. It's like I got all this in my account, and it's like I can't believe I just like, because before going in there, my goal was like I wish I can make enough money to pay off the house. That was the only goal, and to be like $1,000 short of it, it's like it was meant to be. That was like fate.
It's pretty poetic.
Yeah. It was just right there.
One important point that I want to stay on, because of it generating buzz at one point in time, the copyright and the IP. I think it's important for people to understand that you had that permission.
Yes, I not only had that permission, I got a letter like that I had to give to Nifty just to say, to get the go ahead to cross the line. It's like there's no way they're going to put it up without it, and that's why the whole Justice League, which I love to mention because everyone's like hounding me on that.
Yeah.
Justice League was a problem because it wasn't a problem with Warner Brothers. It wasn't a problem with Zack Snyder's team. The last factor was a problem with HBO. HBO didn't understand NFTs, doesn't understand the concept of it. So they were confused of the numbers. They were confused of the charity concept of it, of how a digital currency applies to this whole thing. So sorry, excuse me. So at the last minute, HBO wouldn't give us that letter, and Nifty wouldn't, like, even though we had the approval and the contracts with Warner Brothers and everything, Nifty wanted that letter. And because prior, if you remember, DC put out a letter about not using their IP as what's called, and Nifty got worried about that. And that's fair. That's fair. And the HBO not releasing that paper, giving us that email was the reason Nifty had to pull it. Like, better safe than sorry. That was the case there. But people thinking that it was copy, like the way Nifty wrote it, was kind of harsh because they knew we had the IP and they knew we had the contracts, but it was HBO that put the red light on it.
Right.
And the way they tweeted it out sounded like I didn't have the license for it, which was kind of harsh because their whole community started calling me out on it, which I had to keep explaining, and I'm still explaining till now. But so when you, like, the artists out there that are dabbling with IPs, just get your permission, get your licenses. It's less of a headache than what you would be going through if they find you out after the fact, because you know, with NFTs you get paid infinitely if your residual sales keep going. That means you have to keep paying their lawyers. So you don't want that noise.
Hopefully this is the definitive end to that chapter in that, because, you know, rumors start and things spread like wildfire, and then it just needs to be talked out and talked out and talked out. But hopefully you heard it here. That's it.
That's it. That's like breaks back. Like they're still trying to make the drop happen. But the problem is I feel like the moment is past. Like, because the movie was meant to be released at the buzz of the movie.
Right.
Like, I still want, like, the only reason I would want to do it is because the charity is helping that charity. That's the only reason I want to do it. Not
talk about the charity.
It's for Zack Snyder, suicide prevention. And it's a huge cause for him, because if you know his situation, that's why it's a huge cause for him. And that's what we were going in. We went in with our hearts content on that point. Like, I went and approached him. It's like, hey, I wanted to do posters for the movie for promo and stuff, but I would rather help you with your foundation. That's what we wanted to do. And the fact that this whole politics side of things, corporate side of things came about, it happens all the time, but it was unfortunate because it would have been a great thing. Yeah.
So hopefully be another opportunity somewhere there in the future.
There definitely will be. But it's like, just so people, like, online, for some reason, everyone on Twitter is a lawyer. It's like, but
the Twitter legal team.
Yeah, you got to understand, like, everything before you judge or ask anything. Yeah.
Agreed. I think that line right there, just understand a little bit more before maybe making that definitive opinion heard. The Nifty Gateway drop, going back to that. How do you select the artworks that will be in there? I know you wanted to, they wanted to go the fan art route first. How do you end up selecting the individual artworks that are part of that?
So I had help with IV Gallery that time to curate my works. So we picked the best ones we thought that will work and resonate with people. Going back, I would probably have picked different art pieces like that I think would have done better, more theme orientated. So people, because I've noticed people love themes, like if they look the same or they're in the same sort of category of design, people love it. So that's what I would have changed. But yeah, future later on, like we'll get to it. I got to do my first original on Makers. That's the one where I got to pick. That's the one where I thought about it properly. And I love being inspired to create stuff for a specific thing, and then it has a story to it, because I feel like everything needs story. That's what, when I went in with fan art, that's why I was like worried a bit, because it has no real story. It's just like, I made fan art. That's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But before we get, because I mean the spotlight topic is going to be your artwork, right? Your original artwork. We're going to get there. Just to conclude the fan art chapter in a couple different ways. Let me ask you this: what is your favorite piece of fan art? It could be for a random story, could be for a piece of nostalgia, wherever you want to go. But what's your personal favorite piece of fan art
that I made?
That you've made?
The Last Supper. The Last Supper with Marvel in it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the piece, it's like, that tells a story. Like you got Stanley in the back creating the kebabs. You got Robert Downey Jr. in the middle. Like, he's not Jesus. Everyone says it's blasphemy. It's just a depiction. But you got everyone confused. You got I love it. I love those sort of pieces because you can add so many Easter eggs, and it's fun for the viewer to watch and find stuff like months later.
Yeah.
Like that's what I love doing. That's probably my favorite. Adding Easter eggs like Marvel adds Easter eggs is the thing I love doing.
Yeah. I really enjoy artworks that you can look at from afar and appreciate, but then you can go up, I call it like zoomability, right? You can go and zoom into random parts of it and get those Easter eggs and those little details and those nuances. I like having those two layers to an artwork.
Yes, that's what I love doing too. It's like, that's why I added the vibrant burning warmth color with the kind of the split light blue of his chest, so you can get that visual focus on it. But if you walk into the image, you can find a whole bunch of shit.
Which is beautiful because you engineer that focus, and then you get that the viewer, like for myself, you get that pause where then you want to look more, then you expand your field of vision, then just start looking around the entire artwork.
And I mean, isn't that what, like when you go to a museum and you see the old Renaissance pieces, the ones where like you see like a war happening, and you're like, you look at the painting and it's like in the background, you see a guy stabbing a guy through the mouth. It's like, why did he choose to do that back over there? It's like you start thinking, what's the artist thinking? Like when he thinks beyond the detail, there's the focus, but why do you have so much story in the detail in the back?
Yeah. I'll share with you my my heart is with two. I'll give you two artworks within that particular drop. Forever Mamba, I just thought was it's a fan art piece, sure, but it's just a beautiful artwork, and it resonates, and it has different levels of meaning to it, obviously with circumstances surrounding it. But that one, in my opinion, one of your most iconic fan art pieces. Probably because I'm a basketball fan as well. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to my friend Kenson. He's the one that helped me with the animation for that piece. So without him, it wouldn't have been as beautiful as it is. So I want to just give him a shout out right now.
For sure. Yeah. And the other one pulled from your Instagram, and this takes you back to my own comic book fandom from back in the day, but the Venom versus Carnage. It was from March 13th, 2020.
Is it only they're versing each other?
Yeah.
I made a UFC version of that one.
I was going to say there's like two versions, right? One with the text and one with the stripped out text. But that took me back in a way I'm always inclined to appreciate Venom and Spider-Man and Carnage pieces because that was one of my favorites growing up. But seeing that, how you drew them or how you put that entire piece together, most accurately depicted my memory of the comic books that I read as a kid.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I hope to achieve every time someone sees my comic stuff. Like I try to do it in my style, but kind of you still feel the comic like inspiration, and I'm happy to hear that. That's what it came about.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Okay, now it's time. Oh no! Sorry. One more thing. I'm gonna skip ahead, okay, and then we're gonna go to the spotlight. But I want to skip ahead while we're on the fan art subject. You just had a very recent drop. Well, actually, probably two places we can go. There's two recent drops on MakersPlace. The one that sticks in my head, the one that I was very aware of, is the Francis Ngannou, right? The UFC fan art, and then there's of course Godzilla vs Kong. Sticking with the Francis Ngannou, tell us about that. I mean, that had a dramatic ending auction in two ways. The bonus package associated with that auction was tremendous, and obviously the end result was tremendous too.
Yeah. So basically, they came about like a week before the drop. It's like they had an idea. They wanted to do a mad NFT drop for Francis Ngannou, but also connected to his heritage and connected to his foundation. And I was like, as soon as he said foundation, and it's like, you know how the Zack Snyder thing turned out. It's like, I want to do something nice. I want to do something good, like something that will fulfill that thing because we missed that. So I said yes to it, and we created, like I modified a few old pieces of mine because we didn't have time. So I made my old pieces new. We created cards out of them, gold cards, and ones with belt. But the thing that was unique about this one, and it was a risk, was we released two items before his fight, and only if he wins we release the other items. So it was kind of risky because we only made 120 or something like that at the start with the two pieces. And if that's like still good money for the foundation and stuff, but we really wanted him to win, and he won. That was the greatest thing, because then we released his other stuff at the perfect time, and that kind of blew up, and we got like over 500 or 600 mil. Not 600 mil, 600,000. And yeah, it's like we were able to give to the foundation, and it got put on the map because he was all over the news. So NFTs got boosted as well in that aspect. But the coolest thing is like that he made more with NFT than his actual fight purse that day. So he made, I think, 500,000 or something with his fight purse, and this made more. So it was kind of a win for the digital artist. For
sure. Were you watching live? The main event?
I was watching the main event, and I was watching the NFT spike. So it was awesome.
In parallel. Did you have a good fist pump moment when he knocked Stipe out?
I always get nervous in fights, but this one was really nervous because there was a lot riding on it. If he doesn't win, this stuff doesn't get released. That's the stipulation. That's it.
Yeah. Good moment. I'm a huge UFC fan, so that was a good one to follow and to see you involved with as well. That's
awesome. And the fact that it's like he put Africa on the map. It's it's awesome. It's like it was a heartfelt moment because it was genuine from his side, and then it's like he's just a super nice dude.
And in the bonus package, it was like sand from the quarry where he worked. It was very detailed, very detailed.
He upgraded it. I don't know if you saw it, but he changed it from a video call to a training session, which is crazy.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that lucky person gets to train with Francis. Hope they're out for it, but yeah.
Hopefully they don't get punched. The greatest punching power in the history of the UFC, right there.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's go over and we'll conclude the fan art chapter for the time being with Godzilla vs Kong.
Yeah, Godzilla vs Kong. The thing that was an awesome experience because it was the first kind of major film NFT drop. Sure, it didn't make like super bank, but the thing is, it was like a pivotal moment because what it is. It's like a major film did an NFT drop for a big drop of a movie. The thing with that one is it wasn't meant to be an NFT. We were doing promotion art for the film. Then everyone saw that NFT is the big buzz right now. So it was kind of a last minute spin around to make an NFT. So I wish we had more time to campaign it, but it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was an executive decision, but hopefully that it gave us like vision. If we create something for another movie with these companies, which they're happy to, they're excited about, we have more leeway for campaign, and we just do it right. Yeah.
It's exciting. And who knows, maybe that picks up a second wind and continues to garner appreciation after the fact.
Yeah. And you get an opportunity to create dope art. So yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Speaking of dope art, your personal pieces. There's a dramatic drop on MakersPlace, and there's also your foundation art. Where would you like to go first?
Let's go with Makers.
Okay. So a very, very cohesive. You had mentioned earlier that people appreciate themed artworks, that look like they belong together. This is very clearly curated by you to be cohesive. Yeah.
So with this one was special because initially on Nifty, I wanted to release my Egyptian god pieces. But apparently they didn't fit the theme of fan art, so I kind of put them on the back burner. And at Makers, I was able to put them as a set, and that was awesome. I got to finally put some of the stuff I'm most proud of on sale, and they did really well. Like I love that people, when you got a piece that it's like they buy one and it's like, man, that's so good that I need to buy the others.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And after you buy the others, you get an incentive. You get the extra one for $1 or something. I think it was. You get the other one for $1 if you bought 3 of them. And I saw a lot of people bought that. A lot of people went and did that. And that inspires me the most, because when someone buys your fan art and they send you messages about your original art, and they send you messages how they feel about it and stuff, they kind of connect with you. When it's your original stuff and they feel the same way you did, you know that they're genuine. And that's what I love doing. Yeah.
And also I had thought as I was reviewing that drop, that for the time, it was a unique way to go about it. The connecting of those 3, unlocking the 4th for that lower cost.
Yeah.
Did you come up with that? Did Makers come up with that? Did you see that somewhere else?
Makers came up with that. They wanted to try something, and it was like I saw the idea and I think it was dope. So yeah. Just do it. It's like people thought it was like some people said it's like you have to buy 3 to buy that one, but it was kind of like it's a gift. If you buy, it's just a free gift that you get to buy that one for $1 if you buy the other 3.
Right.
So yeah. So it was a good incentive.
Right. And for those who appreciate the set, you don't have to buy the 3. You could buy the one that's your favorite, but if you do choose to do that, you get rewarded.
The thing about the whole drop, it inspired me to continue with my mythology set. So hopefully I can still create bigger and different, like, it doesn't have to be Egyptian. It can be the Greek gods. It can be like, even dive into stuff that's not very popular, but bring them to the light. Because in fan art as well, I used to get, say, the Celestials from Marvel that no one knows about, and I make them more modern. And I love doing that stuff because it teaches people, who's this character? I want to read up on them. That's what I love doing with mythology. It's like you bring some obscure character from back then and bring it to light. It's like, who the hell is this? And they want to read up on it. So that's what I like to do.
So take a step back, actually, on that point. The Egyptian mythology that you chose to represent yourself first on MakersPlace, where'd that come from? What was the inception?
Well, I wanted to make my grim realization of mythology pieces. I love darker works. I love horrific works, and I kind of wanted to put that in the sense of mythology. So everything I'm making in mythology is I'm trying not to be happy with it. I'm not trying to be light with it, but more of a do you know when you buy a dark take of a novel, like for instance, let's just put Peter Pan, for instance. Peter Pan never grew up because he was either in a mental state where it didn't allow him to, or he never grew up in a darker take because he was always dead when he was young. Like he died. It's like, that's why he never grew up. That's Neverland is the afterlife, basically. See, that sort of take. I love that sort of stuff. Also, like the song Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
Yeah.
Gently on the stream. That's like, you can think of it two ways. Is the stream of life. And at the end of it, life is but a dream. It's like, you can take that either way. But I love that sort of stuff. I love, there's the candy they give you or the real shit they give you. Which one do you want to take?
Yeah. So you play with that. You play with that in your art. Yeah,
because if you open that book up, you're open to create whatever you want. If you stick to what they give you, you're confined in a box of creativity. When you make it your own and a darker take, that way works way better.
Appreciate that. You're giving someone a choose your own adventure. You can keep it surface, or you can go that step further and ponder some things.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, when you think outside the box and create it on your own, it's like when someone gives you a subject matter and it's like, it gives you a word and just like create something out of this word. That's basically with like mythology characters or like old school folklore characters and all that sort of stuff. It's like they give you the character, you create their world. Yeah.
Let's go to
and that's what I think. Like, I've always wanted to make a completely different version of Wizard of Oz. Like a completely different version. Like the wizard, like for the wizard to be, or the witch to be like chaotic or like psychotic more than she is. But the thing is, it turns out like the main people, like Scarecrow and that, are also the fucked up ones. It's like that. I would love to see that. I love getting characters and flipping them on their heads. Yeah.
Are you going to go down that road one day?
It's on the list.
It's on the list. Probably a long list. We'll get to that. I'll ask you a question on that later. But let's go to foundation. Because you have the cohesiveness of the MakersPlace drop, and on foundation you've been able to drop quite a few things, one of ones, but pulling from your personal works.
Yeah. So foundation, I feel like it's my own shop. It's like I'm there and I'm like, hey man, I just want to put this one up and see what happens. And it's like, and I love it because it's one of ones. Like, but for some reason people complain about me dropping on there, even though if it's one on one, it's like, it's not a high number. It's like one of one. It's like, if you want it, some of them go cheaper than others, some of them go higher than others. But I love the place because I love the owners of the site. They keep upgrading and it looks better and better. Like right now it looks dope and they're still adding stuff to it.
Their UX is good. Their UX is really good.
I love how simple it is. That's like, I give them props for that. But yeah, it's like my own shop. It's like I can put stuff anytime I want. I can take it off. I can gift people stuff. It's like that's the coolest thing. I love having it as a side thing. I don't think people should count it as like one of Makers or one of like Nifty and stuff. This is like, it's like your wallet, your hub. That's what I love. It's in your back pocket. I love that about it.
Take us through anything. Actually, I'll prompt you on one. The bond. Talk us through the bond.
The hand.
So it's this hand that's reaching out with the finger. There's a sky and clouds and a couple birds in the background.
Yeah. So that was a piece I did back in the days for desktop photography. That's a huge thing with Pete Harrison. We were a whole bunch of artists collaborate and make desktop wallpapers annually. So that was one of them for it. But I upgraded it, made it more portrait. the point of it was like the connection between land and sky.
Yeah.
The bond between them, because no matter what happens on Earth, like what we do and who we are, and staying, going, dying, living, all that sort of stuff, that the relationship between sky and land is always going to be existent. It's like even beyond us, and that's basically what it is. It's like infinity. Like the bond between them is infinity. Even if you got chaotic skies and like bad climate and all that sort of stuff, it still exists. The nature between land and sky, even if in the chaoticness of all of it, the destruction of all of it, it still exists. Like the bond is there. Yeah.
I enjoy the themes that you play with in your art so clearly. You know, you play with nature, right? Like you just spoke to the bond of land and sky. You play with nature a lot, and you also play with time.
Yeah.
The notion of time.
I love time. Time is my favorite subject to talk about. Movie genre, to draw, to paint, like everything about time is like, it's because it's like it's endless what you can do with it. It's like that's why I love it so much. I get giddy when I talk about it. Time travel, like how different time travel works in different movies and how you think actual time travel will work. I love that. And it's like what happens to, like, the biggest thing that resonated with me was back in the day, someone once told me, it's like, we are the keepers of our time. Like we look at the watch and we see the ticks and tocks and stuff. But what happens to time when you die? Does it cease to exist? Like if the timekeeper's not there, what happens to it? Yeah. It's
like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound?
That's basically it. It's like, is time like for the individual? Like, is it like you're keeping track of your time, I'm keeping track of my time, but if I pass away, like what happens to time? Like what happens to that individual time? Like none of us know what happens in the afterlife. No one, is it like a black scape, or is it like does time continue in a different realm? Like all that sort of stuff. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah, it sort of makes me think of, you know, quantum physics and the observer effect. And do you need an observer to have a certain outcome, or does the observer change the outcome of the situation?
Yeah. Like what happens to time? It's just say like there's some solar anomaly happens and all of us have amnesia. How do we perceive time? How do we calculate time? How do we know time? That's it. It's like if everyone forgets time, how does time work anymore?
Interesting. So do we then reframe it, restructure it, maybe come up with a different way to? That's
what I'm saying. It's like, how does it work? Are we still going to use like the sundial? It's like, are we going to think of something different? Yeah, something like that. That's what I'm saying. It's like we've created, like back in the days, we created how time works, and we all allocated on that time. So what happens if, you know, that all changes? Like you forget all that. If it reset, like you get a reset. Like I don't know what happens. Like how, that's a story in itself.
It is. Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, you can take that so many different places, but yeah, as the sciences even evolve, you know, you can go back in the day and at almost every stage of the way, we got so much wrong. You know, so much was wrong. We tried to put a framework around it, and then we realized, oh, that's not right. And we changed the framework, and it keeps evolving forward. So yeah, what if history takes us down different paths, different frameworks, different mistakes, different errors?
Yeah, it's like, it's basically everything that we do in life is a learning process. Like we learn to walk, unlike animals, we learn to walk by visually seeing it and seeing someone else do it. And we slowly progress of what we visually see and what we visually pick up. Like learning how to tell time is something learned because it's pre-existing. It's already been learned. So you learn it again. Like for instance, like if you were raised not being afraid of like usually human nature, people are scared of the night, like at darkness, because it's the lack of sight. Because the lack of sight is like visually you can't see stuff, so you get scared. But if you were raised to not be scared of the night and be scared of the daytime, you'll be scared of the daytime just as much, because that's what you were raised and that's how you learn. That's the whole. I love learning psychology in that sort of aspect, because the way you learn things, like you can, like if you put someone in a room, like this is like going random and stuff, but put someone in a room and you convince them a tomato that's red is black and an orange, like or a pear or something, and you convince them all their life, you cannot convince them otherwise later on, like when you show them a real thing. It's like convincing a person born blind trying to have a conversation about color. Like how do you have that conversation? It's
a different framework, different societal norms, different early education. You're right. It really does fix a belief system.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like everything we do is prior knowledge, and we kind of, some of us evolve it, change it to our narrative, but it's still prior knowledge. So the foundation is already set of everything we learn. And that's the interesting stuff about time, right? It's like,
that's right,
everything about time has happened before, and we're just building blocks on top of it. That's why when we talk about future, it's so exciting, because it hasn't happened yet. There's no foundation.
I feel like this is a rabbit. We'll have to do like to do a clubhouse sometime. We'll just talk about time, and
do me a favor. If you do that, get someone that actually knows about time, because I just babble on, but someone that actually knows about fucking like the whole time and space stuff, get that person.
BossLogic, you ready to play a game?
Yeah, go ahead.
The lightning round.
Go ahead.
All right. So
I've seen it in some of your videos, so I kind of got a paper ready.
Oh, nice. All right. Go where you want to go. Hot takes are great. Keep it quick, but if you want to hit timeout and go on a tangent, absolutely. Just hit pause and go where you want to go.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go. Lightning round. Digital art.
Everything. It's everything to me. It's like, it's all I know. So it made me what I am, and it's basically going to be here till I can't do it no more.
NFTs.
Life-changing. The future. Endless possibilities.
UFC.
Love, like UFC, MMA, the whole thing. It's like,
The whole thing.
I'm a big fan of Street Fighter, the game. That's like, I grew up on that stuff, and watching it, those quick rounds and all that sort of stuff, it feels like Street Fighter to me. So it was like meant to be me loving that sport. Yeah.
Takes you back.
Takes me back to it. I still play. Like yesterday I played Street Fighter 4 on stream, and it was like, that took me back, because I haven't played in a year and a half, 2 years. And I got to play with my old friends. That just like made my week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Justin Maller.
One of the greatest dudes I know. It's like the fact that he's from my side of the world, and it's like we connected back in, I think it was San Diego or New York Comic Con, one of them. But yeah, it was great seeing him, and great seeing him how far he's gotten. He went from this cool 3D artist that I used to admire from afar to someone I can call a friend. So yeah, and what he's doing now with DeviantArt, what he's doing now in the NFT space, I respect the dude. The guy has his head on right with business and art, and he's genuine. You don't see that much in people.
Genuine good people.
Yeah.
Nifty Gateway. They're
like trendsetters when it came to what's called to NFTs. Like, they made it super popular, and they're still going strong. Like, and because of them, there's a whole bunch of new platforms, new what's called. So they're, I guess, inspiration.
MakersPlace.
MakersPlace are awesome people. Like, I love their team. They gave me a chance with my original art, so I'm forever grateful for that. And just like, also they're evolving as well, so I love those guys as well.
And you may be able to guess where I'm going to go next, but Foundation.
Foundation, as I said, man, it feels like it's me. It feels like they made a website for me to do what I want on it. And it's got a mad interface. The people running it are always like connecting with their followers on Twitter and taking notes and all that sort of stuff. You want that from a company, and they're doing some good shit. I love what they're doing.
Spider-Man.
I love the dude, man. It's fun to watch. Are we talking about the actual character, or are we talking about the movie?
Take it where you want to go.
I love Spider-Man. He's like, when someone gets you into comics, you're always grateful for that first character, because without him, you wouldn't love anyone else. Like, it got me into comics. It got me into reading up and learning about the other characters within the comics, then go into Fantastic Four and all that sort of stuff. But right now, I kind of landed on Dr. Doom and Magneto. I love those characters now. That's where I'm at. I love masks, and I love what they stand for. It's like they don't give a shit about what you think. It's like what they fight for is what they fight for.
Mm-hmm. I have a love-hate relationship with Magneto.
Yeah, I can see it, but it's like the reason I love him is because, as I said, it's like he's fighting for a cause, and he doesn't give a shit if you're his friend or anything. He's gonna go through with it. Yeah.
Concept that you have not yet tackled, but that you eventually want to explore.
Well, that Wizard of Oz one I just talked to you about. That's one of them. A lot of folklore and a lot of urban legends sort of pieces I want to do as well. There's one that I've always wanted to do, and I'm working on it currently, and I don't know where I'm going to drop it, but I'm making the Four Horsemen in the way I want to make them. And when that's finished, it's like I want to make it my own take, and there's going to be kind of similar angles, and it's going to be released as a 4-set, and I don't want to show it to anyone. I showed one, the Horsemen of the Death, but I don't want to show the rest until I release it. That way it will be more impactful. Yeah. And so that's what I want to do.
Looking forward to that one. What's the last piece of art that you saw that stopped you in your tracks?
Just recently, the Banksy one, the COVID Banksy. The one where he's got like superheroes flying and they're masked up.
I'm trying to. I think I may have seen it. I will dial that up.
He made it a while back, but I think it was on Christie's just recently.
Okay.
Everything he does is like, I know a lot of people just like Banksy by default, but what he does is like, you look deeper into his pictures and what he does. So even if it wasn't Banksy, just you looking at his pieces, it always tells a story. Like he has one where he's like, where I think the two couples are hugging or something, and they got a phone, and that's what they're concentrating on. And I love those sort of deep and impactful images. Yeah.
The last piece of art that you saw and said, why don't more people know about this?
Last piece I saw. I have to get back to that one. There's so many.
That's fine. Yeah. Pause that. Well, actually, let me give you a prompt, because on your Nifty, I noticed that you have two artworks from a friend period, and a friend of Origin Stories, and that's Alexi Aeforia. But you have two of his artworks as Nifties.
I love his pieces. I loved his work before NFTs. Yeah. I used to see his works just like randomly pop up on my feed. Then I just started following him. I kind of loved his simplicity of his characters and the slow motion movement, but it's like, it just feels hypnotizing, his work. And I always loved seeing it. And he uses pink and blue very well. And I feel like they're his colors. But now I'll say this, and I don't mean to disrespect anyone, but after his work and seeing his work, I see like a lot of drops. So many artists are doing the same things now, like the same concepts. I think they think that NFT art is that art, but it's like, you don't have to change to that art. It's like you can keep doing your own thing. But I've been seeing a lot of similarities with a lot of artists doing a lot of same concepts. But the thing is with him, I can always tell it's his work because he's got this style on it. It's got, I don't know, it's not a filter or anything, but it's kind of the way they move his pieces, the way they subtly move, you could just tell it's him. Yeah.
And also the original music that he puts into some of his artworks.
That's awesome too,
Yeah. So again, just big fan over there. I want to read you a quote. It's of yours, and I'd love for you to say a few words about it. I pulled it out of one of your interviews. So quote, "All these people that ask me for advice, I just say, stop thinking about it and just start. It's always going to be slow, but as long as it's your passion, the more you produce, the better you'll get. The money and all that sort of stuff will come in time."
Yeah. So basically that is what it is, exactly how you said it. It's like a lot of people, even in the NFT space, I've seen a lot of people quit because they're not making money.
Mm-hmm.
It's like money will always come. Like no matter how long, you can say, oh, it hasn't came, it's been 2 years. Well, with me, it was from 2007 to 2014 till I got paid. Like it takes long. You just have to be consistent. And the thing is, you have to love what you're doing. Let's just pretend, it's a very stupid comparison, but let's just pretend art is your family. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When times get hard and fucking tough and all that sort of stuff, would you just up and leave your family? Like, are you going to up and leave because it's hard? No, you're going to do everything you can to make it work. And that's what your relationship with art should be. And if it's not that, and if you can't, put all your heart in it, I don't want to be that person, but it's like, it's going to be rough. You're not going to enjoy the process. You're actually going to get probably sick from the process, like physically sick, that you're not making money or you're not making headways or you're not making likes and all that sort of stuff. You're literally going to put yourself in depression. And it happens. The reason I say this is because I've been there. I've done that. I've been through every stage of, hey, I'm going to quit. Hey, I'm not doing good. Hey, I hate this person or I hate this thing and I hate this company and all that sort of stuff. I've been through it all. And it one day clicks and it's worth it. Everything that happened to you was worth it. Like, and I'll get to the point, you say something at the end where it's like advice I would like, a question that I'll say to someone else and it will make sense. This will all make sense at that point. It's like, you have to sacrifice a lot to get somewhere. And if something comes easy, it goes away easy. Because you don't know what you put in to get there. Because if it came easy and you lose it easy, you're not hurt enough from it. And trust me, when you get there, and you will get there if you stay consistent, this will all make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
These are wise words. You know why I love to hear those words so much? It's because there's the BossLogic now, right? There's the BossLogic that comes into the NFT space, and I think it's, you see it everywhere. You see it's so successful or accomplished or followed, right? And then there's jealousy and there's different opinions out there and whatnot. But hearing what you just said, hearing you walk it back, hearing you talk about 2007 to 2014, hearing you talk about the trials, the tribulations between those points in time, it's a necessary dialogue. It's necessary to expand that vision, see the progression, see those moments that you could have walked away, that you had had those thoughts.
I'll give you a tiny story. Like I had a job 2012 with Nike, my first big gig. Like it's Nike. You guys call it Nike, yeah? So, yeah. So that was my first big gig with them, and I failed it. I didn't do good. Like they wanted a certain style, and I couldn't produce it. I didn't have the skill set to do it. And this was after 4 weeks of work, 5 weeks of work, and they just like, they paid me $1,000, but they said they go in a different direction, and that kind of broke me. That broke me a lot. Like I was doing 12 hours a day trying to progress and do it good, and wanted to be the best, but my best wasn't good enough. I literally got sick for a couple months after that. Like sick, like hospital sick, because I sacrificed my health, my everything, and my mental state took a beating because, hey, even after 4 weeks of work, I wasn't good enough. Why would I be good enough? Instead, like when I was in the doctors and like recovering and all that sort of stuff, I said to myself, I'm going to get better. Health-wise, I'm going to get better art-wise. I'm going to knuckle down and work my ass off. And later on, it's like look at it now. I'm working for the biggest companies in the world. Like even Nike has reached out to me a few times and stuff, but I wasn't able to take the jobs because I was too busy. But I got to the point where I feel like I redeemed myself. And it took almost dying to do that. It's like, that's what you get. It's like, there's going to be days where you fuck up so hard that you ask yourself why you're doing it. It's like, why do I do it? And isn't that the biggest question with everything in life? Like, why do we do it? If it's currency, that goes. It's like, you have to really ask yourself why you're doing it, why you do anything. Yeah.
You may have given us most of the answer, but why do you do it today?
Why do I do it? Because, as I said at the start of the thing, it's really all I know. Mm-hmm. It's my dad did it before me. My dad was an artist, and one of the little aspects was making him proud. But at the end of the day, you want to make yourself proud. Mm-hmm. And when I don't know if anyone can put art over everything, but I literally put art over everything is because art is an attachment of me. It's me. Like, without it, I wouldn't be chatting with you. Without it, I wouldn't have income. Without it, I wouldn't have paid off my parents' house. I will sacrifice everything for it because it made everything of me. This is why I do it. Art is not a subject. Art is me. Yeah.
A true form of expression, like an ecosystem with self that give and the take. Yeah. I appreciate that.
I'm not even though I'm talking to you, I'm not really good at expressing myself through talking. Like, me creating a piece is more myself on a paper than talking. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you're doing just fine talking, by the way. I think you're doing just fine.
As Justin says, you're like, I say this to Justin a lot because I hate interviews, and he interviewed me like a couple months back because I hate interviews. I just don't like them. And he's like, man, you're good at it. Stop complaining. I'm like, okay, I'll stop complaining. But it's like, he goes, you're very good at it. I'm like, the only reason I'm good at it is because I've done it so many times now. It's like, that's the only reason. But in my head and in my chest, anxiety is still saying, hey, man, I'm going to fuck you up. It's like, that's it.
Yeah. All right. The question I'll give you, passed down from a past guest, is I'm actually going a little off script to pull a different question. Because I do feel as though you have the experience, the wisdom, the journey, and a lot of these I consider, I'm saying this, not you, right? I'm saying a lot of these gems that you're dropping along the way are powerful. And so I'm going to ask you to look 5 years out, which is impossible to do. I know it's impossible to do, but I think you've been down certain roads before where maybe you have a better perspective than somebody else. 5 years down the line, what do you see? And you could take that for yourself, for the space, for anywhere you want to go with that question.
I want to put it out there because I like putting the energy out there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hopefully it happens. I want my personal IPs and personal things that I'm working on in the background to become worldwide known and produced on the big screen for one day you guys, artists, are doing fan art of my work. Yeah. That's what I want.
That's special. That's special. Yeah. All right.
That's the biggest goal.
That's a good, clear goal. I can see that. I can see that. All right. It's your question time. I think you had something, you had somewhere you wanted to go. What question would you pass on to a future artist as part of Origin Stories?
Exactly what I just said. Why do you do it?
Why do you do it?
Yeah.
So we already got there. So we already got there.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
And to extra segue, if money is not involved, would you still do it?
If money is not involved, would you still do it? That's a good one. And then if I may tack on something, I want to connect it to a past guest as well, because I think this is so fitting. And that past guest is Billelis. And Billelis, in his origin story, did the why test. And it was the why, the why, until you drill down to the core. So if I could just throw that in here as well.
Yeah. And also, like, if you want to word that second part differently, that actually throws a wrench in it. If money stops existing in it, would you stop it? So you made money from it, and then money goes away. What happens to it? Do you still do it? Do you still love it?
Right. So what was it? What was and what is it about?
Yeah. What was your drive in it? So, yeah.
Man.
And tell them to be super genuine, because, like, it's easy to say no to money when you have it.
It's very true. It's very true. So, BossLogic, what's next? What's next? What's on your mind? You know, as we come to the conclusion of your origin story, which I hope will be the first of many as this space grows and expands and people start doing fan art of yours, and I hope we find our way back here for something special. But for here and now, what's on your mind, and where will you be going next?
Man, I want to create universes, man. That's the dream. I want to create big things, like, with my team, and to bring other artists in with me and create huge things that we love, and us become the new multiverses and the new MCUs and all that sort of thing. It always starts small, man, but it's like, dream big, and that's what I want. Like, thankfully, I've been in this game for a while now. I've made some dope ass connections, big people, big investors, and all that sort of stuff. And now I have the ability to work on my creative process and pitch this to them. And if it gets picked up, and hopefully it will, because, all my heart's in it, and it gets picked up, you'll be a couple of years down the track, you'll be talking to me about a whole different subject.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Couldn't happen to a better person, man. Code, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man. This is one of the better interviews I've been in, by the way. Just put it out.
I'm glad. This is good. We went down a number of different roads, and I'm going to go back to a number of the things you said for quite some time. I'm already enjoying the rewatch that I always do to track things and timestamp.
And I just want to throw it out there just before we finish. Artists, be awesome to your followers, especially your fans, even if they don't buy your stuff. Be awesome to the collectors, even the ones that don't buy your stuff. Be awesome to everyone. Just be nice. And the collectors and the fans, same thing. Artists are not your tools. Artists are not people you can just poke fun at and laugh at. They're still people. They still have emotions. And a lot of them are actually, even with the smiley face, they're going through shit. So be nice to everyone, man.
Be nice. Be nice. Be genuine, right?
That's it.
Thank you, BossLogic. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.